So what exactly do I have to share with you this week? I was really sitting and thinking about how much more accessible I can make this experience so that it's more interactive, so that it's more resonant for you, not just informatively, not just from what you're learning, but from what you're really gaining, from what you're feeling. And at a time where we are so uncertain in terms of our future and our path, there are always experiences in life and narratives such as the Gnawa and the story of Exodus within Judaism. Jewish tradition and Gnawa actually have a long past together. I'm going to talk about that this week. Session 2, Gnawa with Nikki, and this week we're going to be talking about cities, diasporas, and dual identity. If you were with us last week, welcome back. If not, then good to have you. What is Gnawa? It is both an ethnicity, which is ancestrally based in Central and West Africa, Chad, Mali, Ghana, Guinea, southeastern Morocco. Scholar Choki Al-Hamel tells us that many Ganawis already actually were indigenous to Morocco. They were living in the Jura region, or Tizunim, Zagora, etc. Zagora being one of the Gnawa cities in which there's a shrine to the saint Moulay Abdel Kader Jilali. So this is why multiple groups and languages are part of Gnawa, from the Amazigh, from the Gulu to the Songhai, to the Tuareg, to the Hausa and the Zarma, etc. Their styles, how they play, Takamba, Tende, again, Gulu drums, they affect the very structure and the names within Gnawa. That Ekal Ignawen means land of the black people. Did you also know that because Kanawa is a Hausa word, Kufan Kanawa is a medieval site in former Kano, Niger. It's an Amazigh word. The full phrase being Ignawen, which in some parts of Morocco can either mean the mute, the dumb, or the dark. And this seems to be the commonly agreed upon meaning, because Gana means village in Bambara, a dual meaning being a troop, perhaps a large gathering of people, much like an al-ada. Gnawa songs tell us of saints. They tell us of the Charafa, the holy family of the Prophet Muhammad. They tell us about Mimouna, both the festival and the tradition. You can hear about old cities such as Timbuktu. You could hear more Hausa dialects and references to Kanawa as opposed to Gnawa. I hear in Timbuktu the song we're about to listen to together. Fully, like Fula Gnawa. Like you can say Ful Gnawa or you can say Fula Gnawa. But either way, it's a reference to the roots that made them. Gradual transformation that they would endure from just being Hausa or just being Wodabe or Maninke or Soninke or Songhai to being specifically enslaved Moroccan for generations until you either ran away, manumission, or you were set free. And these will become who we now know to be the Gnawa today. Gurmis or Birams in Niger, they call their masters Malams too, just no two L's and with an A instead. I think this is one of the main ancestors of Gnawa, which is why I'm really eager to share this with you, and I think that you'll enjoy it. I hear the similarities between Gnawa and the style. took 10 of these cities that are known to be historically Gnawa, 1,642 hours on foot. It might not be that much less time if you're taking a camel or another animal through the caravan. That is about 8,155 kilometers. And from Timbuktu through Boram, we are going through Adrar in Algeria. And now we're at Bashar, which is, as I said, one of the ancestral birthplaces of Gnawa. We move to the west as opposed to go all the way around. And one of our first cities that I wanted to highlight, I was just showing you the northern route here, is Merzouga. And Kamlia, or Kemlia, is just south there, 7 kilometers south of Merzouga, one of the first stops in the Moroccan Sahara route. Then Eritrea, but Merzouga is in Eritrea province. Gomima is along that road, but if you're taking it from Merzouga, you just keep going past here through Ouarzazate, which is an historic Gnawa city, Taroudant, Agadir. Samir Langus of Inov Gnawa is from Agadir. Essaouira, Malem Guinea is from there, and so is Malem Abderrahman Kirouche or Malem Paco. Safi, El Jadida, Casablanca, Rabat further to the north, Kenitra, where the village Lala Mimouna is, Fez, to the very north in Morocco, Tangier, and that's the official last stop for the Gnawa Moroccan route. Qasr el-Kabir, Hamid el-Kasri is from this city. Clear that up. It's a really beautiful tool that is called Gnawa Stories. It's a shockwave file, malems from each city. So I'm going to take you through that now with Malems Guinea, as I said, from Essaouira, Malem Paco, the Amazigh, and Jewish influences are recurring through Gnawa. So it was initially called Mogador. During the Portuguese colonization, Essaouira had a different name. Essaouira is also the site of the famous Gnawa Music World Festival, and that has been ongoing since 1997. Like the spirits are drawn to the sound of Gnawa and the guembri, I think we are too. I think that is why more and more people attend every year, to find that tangible and yet intangible magic that is part of the Gnawa music. Songs of the 7 colored spirits, Al-Muluk. It just seems so natural, but that public performance, that in itself is revolution, because for so long, as we said, Gnawa was kept in the shadows. The known malems of Marrakesh are the Bakbous, Ahmed and Mustafa, Abdelkabir Moshain, Malems Baska and Mohammed Koyo, Dembi El-Gadari and Hassan Hakmoun. Casablanca. The malems here, Dembi El-Gadari lives there as well. So it was a mix. He lived in Marrakesh because he was born there and he grew up there, and he continued to play there, but he also moved to Casablanca and would collaborate with other malems such as Amida Bousso, who is father to Hassan Bousso, who is also a Gnawa master. Tangier. So the very northern tip of Morocco, and It is the mixture between past and present and future, the mixture between the Mediterranean European influences that were just sitting across the Strait of Gibraltar to the Amazigh and North/Western African influences that do make up Morocco as we know it. The Malems of the city are Abdel El Gourd and Abdel Had Stito that still play in the Gnawa tradition today because these places have never really strayed too far from those roots since they settled there. So getting back to the roots, what do you know about African polyrhythms? Do you know the different compositions and the different patterns that you could use to make those? I personally like 3/2. It gets a little more complicated when you start doing 4/6, but there has to be synchronicity to the different patterns that you use. Tools that you might have missed out on before. You heard them, but you didn't get a chance to experience them and take you through the interactive experience with me. So without further ado, let's check out that polyrhythmic generator that I promised you. It's really fun, and it's an incredible way to get in touch with your creative spirit, to really work through the anxieties that you might be feeling through this time in which you're wondering how to express, but you don't know how. These ancient African polyrhythms are the basis of modern music, and it's important for us to understand that and to really get a feel for how complex these time signatures and these musical concepts are, but also how immediately satisfying they are once you can understand them and start to create them yourself. And it's not hard at all to see how this would evolve into Gnawa, this would evolve into the griot's musical style, and from the Nkonting of Cameroon and Senegal to the guembri of Northern Africa and Morocco. There is something to be said for how instruments and rhythms that seem simple actually have a lot of complexity and thought put into them. That's 3/2, somewhat of a 4, no 5, and 6. So let's take off the 6. We go up. Cipher notation, in which you can find the pentatonic pitches for Mimouna, versions 1 through 6, and then the heptatonic is what I used for this sequence. This is Lala Aisha, but the second version by Mahmoud Gnawa, and we're going to check it out here. Digitally or just in person by yourself when you have the time, when you have the urge to. Don't feel afraid to express, and know that there is something powerful to be found in deciding to do that. The experience that was slavery, which took them from one part of Africa to the other, they developed 100 Gnawa songs and more. So, this music is actually many Moroccans' first memory. The castanets and the tabal or the ganga of the al-ada, or the procession in Moroccan streets. That is the first step of the Gnawa ceremony. It's to warm up and, you could say, purify, charge the space with the energy of Gnawa, so that the spirits feel welcome, so that they understand that the stage has been set. Triple confluence with Kamal Mektali, who is an Amazigh Jewish artist, and she's just a really beautiful soul with an incredible background and a story to tell. She's how I found out more actually about Lala Mimouna. Many Gnawa traditions mix animist African / indigenous African beliefs from the lands that they came from, Yoruba land, Hausa land, Zanda region in Niger. Many of these groups already were Muslim and had woven some Sufi and Sunni customs into their culture. That was part of their faith. And as they traveled to Morocco, they would settle alongside Jewish communities. And as Jewish communities took on some of the customs in Gnawa, such as Mimouna, more accustomed to spending time together and had communal gatherings, they would share some of the same spreads and items at their ceremonies. Set, dates, figs, milk, though for the Jewish tradition of Passover, you have to be very specific about when the milk was cultured, etc. So that is kosher. Mimouna, says Kama, is also a festive occasion celebrated by Moroccan Jews at the end of Passover, where Muslims traditionally visit Jewish homes, carrying baked goods and leavened foods that aren't allowed in Jewish homes during Passover. The story of Passover is a story of slavery, freedom, desert crossings, and miracles, very similar to that of Gnawa. Follow the waters to liberation. And it's incredible to me that for both belief systems, Gnawa and Judaism, water and following the paths of water or finding water are part of salvation. Prophet Moses or Moshe in Judaism, God gave Moses the power to part the Red Sea so that they could escape to Israel and be free. Mimouna is a celebration. It is an allusion to freedom, Passover's culmination from God's sparing the firstborn of the Hebrews during the plagues, and Moses taking them away from Egypt and saving them from the wrath of Ramses. Lala Mimouna is today in Kenitra province. And it's small, it's modest, but that water source, that you could say magical carbonated water, is named after her, and there's an entire suite and color dedicated to Lala Mimouna, rescued them from the desert from dying of thirst, from her canteen, and who would watch over the Gnawa from that moment. And Gnawa Black, she is both the guardian of the door to sub-Saharan or Western and Central Africa. The spirit of the forest, the spirit of things that are dark but not necessarily bad, simply mysterious and yet to be understood. There's ancient references to this affinity, this spirit which looks over fortune, gives you bounty, who when you offer set and dates and the various breads to them, that you receive blessings in return. And Mimouna is part of both the Gnawa Tarbika platter and the Kiara, which is for Mimouna. It is the same spiritual and cultural concept. It's just interpreted differently because Diasporas engage with the world in nuanced, subtly different ways. That is part of the human experience. We will all look at the sun, but when we're asked to describe it and paint it, we're all going to have a different interpretation. Gnawa were actually banned by Moulay Abdelaziz because he was rigidly against the influence that they had in Moroccan culture, and he was afraid that their Sufi sect would essentially dirty the rest of Morocco. Perhaps there's discomfort at the thought that they were preserving their heritage in this music and these ceremonies because they wanted to remember who they were, and that was not necessarily indigenous to Morocco for many. Much like they banned the revolutionary talking drums in the Americas, from Cuba to the southern United States, it became more legitimized by them. It became more of a sound that people wanted to hear and recognized as revolutionary, tangible uprising. Questioning of why are we oppressed? Why are we here? What took us from the place that we were to this particular spot? This is also part of dual identity in the sense that you are aware of your roots. You then are put in the position of explaining how you came to be and then likely wondering why that is. So, persistent cultural influences via regional communities, they still remain. Neither Judaism or Sufi Islam have fully been welcomed into Morocco. There's always been intermittent periods in which it wasn't a guaranteed. Night was a very central time for them. And they bonded perhaps because both of their belief systems were seen as fringe or not necessarily Moroccan. Jewish people have been a mainstay to Moroccan history since 587 BCE. They were there since Jerusalem fell to Babylon. There were two Jewish diasporas actually in northern Africa. One initially when Jerusalem was sieged, and then afterwards, gradually over time, more Jewish people who either newly converted. As they moved further westward, I suppose, the expansion would still follow them, the Jewish diaspora. So they would never really be able to sit easy in the lands that they called home. They would ally with communities that saw them as in the same boat, regardless of the oppression that they had endured from others. In this, the Gnawa and the Jewish community became family. And that tie is why Mimouna is central to both of them. That tie is why, for a second, many African Muslims think that they are viewing like African Muslim tradition, but they're actually viewing like Sephardic and African Jewish tradition and spiritual consensus. These are the facts that make us one. And when we can be one, we can reach the one. That's the beautiful thing about community and congregation. When we go to holy sites like zawiyas, like Gnawa shrines, when we participate in lilas, when we are observing Pesach, all of these are supposed to be experiences that we share together, so that it's easier for us to be in the mindset of we're all one people. We went through this as a people, even if it was an individual thing. We all can say that this is what we have grown past, and this is what we grow through as this identity, as this faith, or as this musical community. There is another interesting connection I wanted to make with you. Alaim Barka plays the gurmi, and he lives in northeastern Nigeria. This is Salamatu Mai. It's a two-stringed lute, the gurmi, and it has more perforations in it than so that the sound can separate more outwardly. I wanted to talk to you really quickly about Mimouna at the Smithsonian before we close. And that was quite some time ago. The Sephardic Heritage International, Moroccan Ministry of Culture, and the U.S. Embassy in Morocco performances that really stand out to me in regards to the confluence, the diasporic connections between Jewish faith and Gnawa faith, and those communities working in tandem as opposed to separately. And this is you could say that the women dancing there, as opposed to Gnawa adepts, they are a mixture. They are Jewish Gnawa adepts, and they are feeling the jedba, the trance that is resonant within Gnawa, but they're feeling it through more of a Judaic theme, a more Judaic conduit. So the way that they connect through Gnawa was first Jewish, but then it became African. Ancient in their movements, doing many of the same spinning moves and steps that adepts would do in Morocco today. And Enough Gnawa is an amazing fusion group led by Malem Hassan Ben Jafar, also including Naufal Atik, Samir Langus, Ahmed Jayuda, Amin Ogbel Yamani, and Saeed Burhana. And this is in 2017 in Benai Israel Synagogue. The Sebetien are the Jewish songs of Gnawa, and this is the first half of their performance. Jewish Gnawa songs are rare. They are a catalog of diasporic memories throughout time, rich in spirit, rich in thought. And Simo Laganawi brings it all back home with these words. When it came to and comes to Gnawa music, however, I didn't choose it. Gnawa chose me. What I want for Gnawa is for major artists to come and play this music along with us. We are singing in the same key. He founded the UK's first and only Gnawa school, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure if it's still in operation, but he made it so that other people could be influenced by the style, be chosen by mentors, and perhaps even Al-Muluk themselves. This has been Gnawa with Nikki, Cities, Diasporas, and Dual Identity. And I will leave you with this song before we close out. Thanks for being here.
Kini Tangana, Bambara Ganda, Tangana.